guys, we're talking about The Princess Bride today, which is super exciting because it's a really good book, and it's very, very unique. So let me tell you about it. For those of you who have not seen the movie, it is very much like the movie, I would say. It has the same kind of funny slapstick sort of thing, which is not something you get in novels a lot, is like just this is a funny thing. It kind of reminds me, the book, talking about how it's written, it kind of reminds me of Lemony Snicket in the series of Unfortunate Events, which I read way too late and did not get a good appreciation of, probably for that reason. But it reminds me of that in that the author is a voice within the story. The whole conceit of the book is that The Princess Bride is actually kind of a folk tale from this made-up country of Florin, and some other guy wrote it. That's what the author tells you. This was written by S. Morgenstern, and S. Morgenstern wrote this book, and the author's dad read this book to him as a child, because dad was from Florin, and so anyway, he read the book to the author as a child. The author had never read it before. He tried to give it to his son and found that there was all this crazy political stuff in it. So the author kind of he says that he's abridged the story, which means that he's kind of coming in every once in a while and being like, there was this long passage right here about such and such and blah, 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 but I took it out. Which is so funny because I know that it's not, like, there's no way that there is a country called Florin with this S. Morgenstern having written this book, but I almost believe it because he's so convincing and he plays this character so incredibly well. And I remember when I first read it, I must have been like 13, 12 or so, and I really didn't know what to make of it because I was like, this can't be real. There's not a Florin. What are they talking about? And so anyway, he does a really good job playing this character, and it adds to this slapstick sort of deal that we get in this book. So that's a long introduction, but the book is about, it starts off with these two characters. You have Buttercup, who is apparently the most beautiful woman in the entire world, and there's this ridiculous passage where they explain about the other people who were the most beautiful in the entire world and what happened to them. But she is the most beautiful woman in the entire world. And then there is her servant boy, I guess. His name is Wesley, and Wesley is just this very stoic, very quiet guy. He seems like he's extremely smart. He seems like the type that would be some sort of philosopher. He's just sitting there like, nothing phases him or whatever. It's just like, yeah. Anyway, so the book starts off with them, and they fall in love, but unfortunately Wesley goes off to try to make something of himself in America, and apparently dies, and it's really sad and upsetting. And then Buttercup gets taken by the handsome prince of the area, who's named Prince Humperdinck. And Prince Humperdinck says, you are the most gorgeous woman in the entire world. I want you for my wife. And she's like, but I only love Wesley. I died the day he died. And he's like, well, I didn't ask you to love me. We're just going to get married. And she's like, oh, okay. So anyway, she's going to get married to Prince Humperdinck. But something happens in between that. You see, how do I explain this? The princess gets kidnapped. Buttercup, she is kidnapped by these very strange people who really are the heart of the book, I would say. There's Ingo, and there's his giant friend. He's literally a giant. His name is Physic. And Ingo has this long, tragic backstory. He's trying to find his father's murderer. And then Physic also has a long tragic backstory. And they are both working under this dude. His name is Vizzini, and he's like, I'm smarter than both of you, so I'm going to tell you what to do. And the whole story is really about these two. Their relationship with each other is so sweet. They're like bros, kind of hanging out, and they're just very, very kind to each other, and extremely supportive of each other throughout the book. And the story is really more about them because they have things to overcome. Ingo, of course, trying to find his father's killer while battling alcoholism, and then you have Physic and his belief that he is not smart enough to do anything, and both of them don't really think that they are very smart. And they think that they have to be ordered around by this other dude that I told you about, Zini. And so the whole story is about them working to achieve their goals. And that's kind of weird because, as you can see, the princess and this dude, you can guess that that's Wesley. But they're on the cover. But really, the story is about them. They're the ones who change. They're the ones who you follow. They're the ones who you see working to achieve their goals. And it's just a really sweet relationship. Buttercup and Wesley are interesting characters. Wesley more so than Buttercup. Buttercup's kind of your standard lovesick girl kind of person. She doesn't really have that much development. Wesley changes, and he's interesting throughout the novel, but it's just they are both really dumb, and it's kind of, I think, a play on the trope of young and dumb and in love. They're just really stupid people, and they tend to make stupid decisions. But, they're all right. I don't mind reading about them, and the whole point of the novel is that it's funny, it's hilarious, and there's just a lot of jokes, and these people are extremely jovial. It's not the kind of jovial that gets on your nerves, I would say. In my opinion, I think it's just the right amount. And it's so intertwined with this exciting action story. And it's very over the top, I would say. It's not a super nuanced story. But that's kind of the fun of it, is that it's not it's not supposed to be some grand masterpiece. It's supposed to be some random story that some kid made up. It's not a kid that made it up, but these are the kind of stories that I came up with as a kid. But it's just a lot funnier and a lot more fun to read. And I think that's why I like it so much, is because it reminds me of the kind of stories that I came up with, but in this funny, satirical, joking sort of way. So I 100% recommend it, even if you have watched the movie. The movie and the book were written by the same person, at least I think so, because, the author said so, but I'm not sure if I could trust him. But I think that they were written by the same person. And I think that comes across if you watch the movie and read the book. But yeah, there's enough of a difference that you will enjoy both. And personally, I think that the book, it's a little darker, and it gets to do some things that the movie didn't, just because of budget and ability. CGI can't do everything, and they didn't really have a CGI budget for that movie. So anyway, I think the book is better in some respects, and I enjoy it a lot. And I think that you should try it out too, because it's really fun, it's really cute, and it's a short read. So pick it up if you can. The next book I'm reading is not cute and not silly in any way. It's Rebecca, and I love Rebecca. If I remember correctly, I don't really remember much about it, but I'm excited to read it. I will see you guys next time. Bye!